Goodman and Hummel podcast, and we got Robbie Hummel.
I'd known you since you were a kid.
I could blow my knee out, both knees, and still kick your ass.
We're trying to find the Robbie Hummel statue.
I wanted to kill you.
All right, welcome in another episode of the Goodman and Hummel podcast. I'm Jeff Goodman. The other guy looks like absolute dog shit. His name
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. You say that every time.
You look awful. You won't even look up.
I was reading a text message. God, you're the worst. When can I quit? When can I quit?
Oh, you only got 7 hours of sleep last night? Is that the problem?
Maybe I woke up a lot. I don't know. I couldn't go to bed after the game.
I told you, once you hit the other side of 40, which is when
I'm still 5 years away.
You're only 30. You look much older than 35.
Really?
Right now you do.
Comment. Well, I don't even feel good. I didn't want to do this. I want to quit this podcast so bad. I quit to Rob. I quit to you. I can't get out of this. It's like I'm being held hostage of doing this stupid pod.
I've already told you, you are severely overpaid per hour. I'm going to break this down for you and the amount of minutes you do. And we're going to show you how much you get paid a minute. And people are going to be absolutely blown away.
I'm not even sure if I ever get a paycheck from Field of 68, to be honest. I don't know.
Listen, that's Doster's department. You can't yell at me for that.
You're a con man. You're a con man accountant.
That's all on Doster, the payment. All right, let's get to it. You were at Indiana Rutgers last night, and I was upset. I mean, I'm sure you were more upset because you were there for the game, and Dylan Harper didn't play. I think he's a guy that's in the equation. We put out our mock draft today, and he's number 2. I still think Cooper Flag goes number 1, but Dylan Harper has been, I saw him in Players Era.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Awesome. And I don't know if Rutgers would have won, but, man, he makes – it's funny because people look at that game and they're going to be like, well, Indiana won by whatever, 15, 12,
10,
whatever the number
10.
was.
It was 10.
And people look at it like, well, Dylan Harper wouldn't make up a 10-point difference. And I hate when people do that because – the whole game plan, everything changes.
Well, his usage is off the charts. Like, Rutgers is playing through him, and they'll play through Ace Bailey as well. But, it put such a big load on the shoulders of Jeremiah Williams last night, who last year had a big playmaking, role on this team and hasn't really this year. He's kind of had to find what his role is on this team. The thing that I thought was going to really be the difference in terms of Dylan Harper being out is just because Indiana's been so bad at containing the dribble. Right. And if you can't guard the bounce against Winthrop, how are you going to guard Dylan Harper, who is just a problem?
He's like the best. He might be the best out there at getting the basket right now.
And he's leading the conference in scoring. I think he's 3rd or 4th nationally. He's top 10 in assists. He's had 8 20-point games, 2 30-point games. So, yeah, it totally changed things for Rutgers. Now, with that being said, before I get there, Ace Bailey was major league last night, dude. It was
some of those shots
hilarious. I mean, and honestly, I thought at times, Luke Goody contested a couple of them well. Yeah. Anthony Leo, I thought did a really nice job of just moving his feet, staying in front, and being like, if he makes shots over me, which this is what, if you play in the NBA and you're guarding the best players, if you're talking to like Shane Battier guarding Kobe or Ron Artest guarding Carmelo Anthony.
Doesn't matter what you do, right?
It just is one of those things where you're like, all right, take away his best attributes. If he likes to go right, force him left. Contest every shot. Don't give up angles. Don't give up open shots. And I thought for the most part, Indiana did a really nice job of making Ace Bailey at least make tough ones. Now, he did. 39. I was saying on the broadcast, I wonder who the last Big Ten player or even player period to go for 40 at Assembly Hall was, and it ended up being some guy I'd never heard of from a small school. Yeah. But before that, Big Ten wise, Sean Ruspert went for 40. But that's what you'd expect. I mean, Sean Ruspert was a total hooper.
Yep.
So Ace Bailey was phenomenal. I can see where, if you look at maybe some intangible things or defensively, there is a ways for him to go. He gets lost defensively. He's not always the most locked in. He's got every physical attribute to be an awesome defensive player. but he's got some room there. But when you're talking about making tough shots, and we aired the Kevin Durant clip where somebody asked Durant.
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it.
It was pretty cool, honestly. Like
I
when
was
you're
shocked.
talking about,
I was shocked that KD even really knew him.
Well, Bailey and Dylan Harper have Nike deals, and they've done stuff with KD, him being a Nike athlete as well. But for Durant, who I think is the best scorer, of this generation and one of the best scorers to ever play, for him to in that clip say, I think that Ace is ahead of me from a mid-range perspective, that is not said lightly. That's high praise. And I also just, from watching Ace make some of those shots, they're shots that there's nobody in college basketball that's making those, and there's not many guys on planet Earth who are. He has the potential. I'm not saying he will. Yeah. Ace Bailey could make $500 million. He could make $500 million with the way the NBA pays and his talent level. Moving on to Rutgers.
Wait, before you get off, before you're done with Ace Bailey, let me just say a couple things. He is such a tough shot taker and shot maker at times. Now, again, it can go the other way too.
But no, he'll take bad shots, and sometimes he won't make them, right? Like
he made them. He made them last night, and he had to make them for them to stay in the game. Now, again, he made them to keep him in the game, and then he missed 3 free throws towards the end.
The free throw percentage is bizarre.
Yeah. It's like he's a bad shot taker, and he enjoys that, and he thrives on it sometimes.
He made 3 threes in the right corner that were so much harder than free throws.
Ridiculous.
So you're like, what's
falling away.
It's insane.
Right. I know.
Yeah,
in his face.
Totally.
All right. My comparison, not all in game, but a little bit in game and a little bit in.
Can I guess who you're going to say?
It's somebody you played with. I think you played with him. You did. You played with him.
You're not going to say Kevin Garnett.
No. Hell no. Come on.
I'm trying to think who's 6'10 with it.
Didn't you play with Andrew Wiggins?
Oh, yeah. But he's way taller than Wiggs.
I'm not saying, no. I'm not saying from that perspective.
Them also, not that Ace is a bad athlete. Andrew is the 0.1% of athletes.
What I'm comparing them to, what I'm comparing them is saying they are incredible talents who can be a little bit like this, and you want more. And they're not always locked in. That's my comparison to Andrew Wiggins. Not in their game. I mean, they're both long wings, whatever you want to call it.
I was thinking maybe like some Brandon Miller.
Yeah, Brandon just, I don't know. I felt like Brandon, I mean, maybe. Brandon was just a little more consistent, and he didn't take as many tough shots. He took some tough ones, but not like, I mean, this kid just, he takes them, and when he makes them, it's just like he's going to keep taking them. He's going to keep taking them.
And he can keep making them, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he really can.
Are you bought into him? I think he'll go number 3 overall. I do. I think it goes Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. From talking to all the NBA guys, 15 of them. That's the clear cut to me, top 3 right now. How sold are you on him? Or is he a guy, like I'm saying, like an Andrew Wiggins?
I think his upside is crazy.
But so is Wiggins's.
Well, no, but Andrew Wiggins is an NBA champion and an NBA All-Star. Let's not, I mean, I know he's been a little inconsistent. Yep. He's dealt with some hard personal things.
Yeah.
But I don't think Andrew's a bust. I know
for
the number 1 pick,
not a
it's
bust.
A different criteria.
But is he a max? You're talking about $500 million to Ace Bailey. I would be more confident giving $500 million to Dylan Harper.
No, I agree, but I think that Ace's ceiling is higher than Dylan.
Way
Harper's.
higher. It's higher than Cooper Flagg's.
You have to get him right. There was questions about Anthony Edwards, coming out of Georgia, and now he still says some things where you're like, that's probably not what.
Did you hear him last night with the quote after the Celtics game?
He doesn't like being trapped. I saw.
I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? People were comparing you to Michael Jordan, and you wanted it, and now you're complaining about getting double teamed all the time?
Yeah. I'm sure that any player doesn't like getting double teamed that likes
I
to
know,
score.
but come on, man. Like, what
But
are we
you
doing?
think that you don't say it. And honestly, the name of the game in basketball is, can you get two on the ball so you can get an advantage on the other side, right? Like whether it's post up, pick and roll, whatever. So by being double teamed, you're getting accomplished what every offense is trying to have happen. But I can see from a scorer's mentality being like, man, I want to score. I'm sick of being every time I come off this thing, I'm being doubled. But it is the ultimate respect. And I don't know, I don't know. I didn't hear
He's
the
probably
interview.
also pissed off that they made the trade and traded away
Of
Carl
course.
Anthony
Like
Towns.
they went from a team that could make the finals to a team that
So stupid.
looks like a team I
Horrible
played on.
trade by Connor.
So
anyway, we're way off topic here.
no, I know, but I think that Ace has plenty of space to grow in a number of areas.
Yeah.
But his upside is insane. So I'm not saying he's guaranteed to make 500, but he certainly is going to be a player that has a chance. And there's not many people that are playing the game of basketball that can say that.
No, there aren't many guys who can do what he can do, which is
No.
kind of what you said 5 minutes.
And it was honestly awesome to watch him do that last night.
Oh,
It was
incredible.
It was,
All right, so getting on to Rutgers now. Get Dylan Harper back, which hopefully they will here soon, if not next game. I saw them in Players Era, and I just felt like they're a fringe tournament team. Probably not going to make it because they put all this money. They put all this money into two freshmen, Rob, and like they don't have enough around those guys. They don't. Now, give them credit; they hung in there in Bloomington and had a chance to put some pressure on Indiana. They never kind of put true game pressure on.
They cut it to 7 with like 7 to play.
Yeah.
My thing is there are things that Rutgers is incredibly bad at that they've never been bad at under Steve Pikiell.
Defensively,
rebounding, physicality, like things that. And granted, Pikiell always was able to take lesser talented guys, but were hungry, physical, and he just grind the game, and this is not that team. And I just watching Indiana obliterate them on the glass, not beat, they obliterated them on the offensive glass
without Renew.
And with Indiana missed their first couple threes, and it was just offensive rebound, kick out, best three in the game. Now you've got Indiana making shots. IU was 6 of 40 from three the 2 games prior. And you just let them get their head up. Now, give credit to Indiana. They finally made shots. I thought Indiana's effort was good. Indiana has had some deficiencies guarding the ball. They've struggled at times guarding off the ball. I thought that last night was one of their better performances. And without Malik Renew, I'm not saying – I don't want this to be construed.
I know what you're going to say.
I know what you're going to say,
and I agree with you.
2 bigs.
Yes.
But the spacing is different. And we talked about it a little bit last night. Noah and I did. When you only have one, whether it's Ballo or Renew on the floor, now Miles Rice has more room to operate. That big has more room to operate. You have more skill on the floor on the perimeter. So it's going to be interesting. If Renew misses time, does Indiana start to see the way they play like uptick? They could. They really could. But they got contributions from a lot of people. Rutgers had one guy going last night. Indiana had like 7 or 8 guys where you'd say, all right, they contributed in a big way, even down to Anthony Leal. I thought he had a really good game. Like they had a lot of guys play well. Miles Rice had a really, really good game as well.
And that shot at halftime was huge. It was cool. Crazy shot, insane shot
off of an insane block that in real time I thought was a goaltender, and then off the replay, it's like, man, he really got that while it's still going up.
No, that's the Indiana team that I think everybody was kind of thinking they would see this year was deep. Because they've got a big payroll, right? Deep team where you're putting Galloway where he belongs. Coming off the bench is a really good veteran
He's
guard.
actually started like the last 8 games, if you were paying attention. But
has he? All right. Well, but he's probably 8.
He started the season off the bench. But with Kanan Carlisle, and Kanan it's been a struggle for him.
Yeah.
And was last night.
I just feel like this team was like power in numbers. They had a good bench. They thought they addressed their perimeter shooting, which they really haven't, although last night.
And Goody has still struggled. It's not been, he's made a lot of threes in his career, but he just has not. And he made a couple last night, but I don't think his percentage was great.
All right, so gun to your head, Indiana or Rutgers makes the NCAA tournament. You got to pick one of them. Who you taking?
I'd pick Indiana. I just think the pieces they have are so much more. The high-end talent goes to Rutgers, but they have two guys right now, and I think Indiana has a lot more. Both teams, though, it is going to be an uphill climb because of their resumes, and I think it will be interesting as you look around. Like the SEC has so many high-level teams, and I guess that can be balanced out maybe by the ACC not being as deep. The Big 12, we know what they are, but Indiana is going to be competing against some teams that have some pretty good wins, and with no quad one wins, and I think one quad two. Now they have no quad three or four losses, but they're going to have to win a lot of games in the Big Ten to get into that conversation.
Right. I mean, even look at their next 3 games. Okay. So they're 2-1 in the league. They go to Penn State. I think they play them at the Palestra. And then they play USC at home and at Iowa. All right, like even if you go 3-0, it's like who did you beat there? Who did you beat? Probably.
Yeah, but they have plenty of opportunities for quad one wins. That's the thing about Indiana, and I think you just wish that you were able to get one of the marquee games. The Bahamas was so big, and it doesn't help them that South Carolina has just been okay. South Carolina is 63rd in
and Providence stinks.
Providence is not going to help you. But eventually, you're going to you've got Illinois at home, you've got Ohio State on the road, you've got Maryland at home, you've got Purdue. They have plenty of opportunities, but you got to take advantage and win. But last night was a step in the right direction. There were things that were better, but they've got to build on it. It's got to be, it can't be, all right, we've won this game, but now we take 2 steps back playing it. What's going to be a war at the Palestra, and that environment's going to be tough too.
Yeah, January 14th is a big one for them, Rob. They get Illinois at home.
Yeah.
And Illinois is going to become a resume win. Like, the Penn State, even if you beat them at the Palestra, people are still going to question, okay, is Penn State?
Yeah, but it's a quad one win. They need quad one wins. That's what's important about that game. And I understand the I guess public perception of beating Penn State, but Penn State's pretty good.
They are. No. I again, that was a good win for them last night against Northwestern. Seemed like an ugly game when I was watching.
Seemed like some interesting officiating.
Yeah, I heard that as well. I did not watch all of that game, but
I need to watch after we get off.
Yeah, not great. All right, let's move on and let's stick in the Big Ten for a minute. And Illinois had a mammoth win in Eugene against Oregon last night. I mean, absolutely from start to finish, controlled that game. Now I think the Illini have, not that they didn't have us as believers before.
No, this is the resume win. This is the resume win for them.
They needed something. They needed something, Rob, where you just looked at it and you were like, okay, yeah, they beat Arkansas earlier this year, but like Arkansas hasn't been that good. Missouri, Wisconsin, like decent. Well, you go to Oregon and you beat a Dana Altman coach team that has been playing pretty well this season. And you beat them the way you did, and you stick 1-0. I mean, they scored 109 points.
Yeah,
and
that's insane.
That's the thing with this team. You and I talked to Brad a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how the defense has come along. But I don't know how many teams can match up with this group offensively, Rob.
Well, and I just think this team has come such a long way from, you think about the Ole Miss game, exhibition game, got their doors blown off.
Yep.
And with Illinois kind of figuring out how to win. The Northwestern game got away from on the road. They had every opportunity to win that one. Tennessee, exact same thing. Some critical errors late, turnovers that cost them that game. Missouri is not, I don't think that's the statement win that everyone would look for, but you found a way to win a rivalry game that's at a neutral site. And this is a young group and a new group, right? Like you have a lot of young players that are playing. You have a lot of new faces together. There's no carryover from last year outside of Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. So it's a totally new group. And I think Brad thrives in that. While a lot of these coaches are running away from the game because they're like, I hate this. Brad's like a JUCO coach. He's like, whatever, I'll just reload. And Illinois has good NIL, so it gives them, and that helps. And I'm sure this would not be fun to recruit in this era when you're like, we have no money.
Right.
But if you do, and you're able to embrace it, and he's coaching this team like like Joe Mazzulla is coaching the Celtics. Pick and roll, shoot a ton of threes, get shots at the rim. But they have good players. They have pros. Yakashonis is a pro.
He is.
Visich has a chance to be a pro. Will Riley's a pro. And then you've got shooting around those guys. And what they make, 16 threes last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're shooting about as many threes as just about anybody in the country. Like half their shots are from three. So
and their pieces fit, Rob. Their pieces fit together. They don't have a lot of duplication, right? They've got a couple guys who can, again, it's not on Colin Boswell to be a pure point like it was at Arizona. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he can be a combo, and he can guard the best guard, and he can just hound them, like that. Coach Underwood did a great job of building this team, of going in the portal and not just necessarily taking the best guys, but guys that fit. And that's a big part of this. And yeah, Illinois, man, that you have to think with a win like that. I know there's still plenty of games to go, but they have to be considered the favorite. For Oregon, how concerning that you've now lost 2 home games.
Yeah.
The UCLA bank shot. And I think Oregon has teetered at times of really playing with fire. And Dana Altman has talked about it a lot. They almost lost to Portland. They were down like 10, came back in the last 2 minutes, found a way, played well in the Vegas thing that you saw for the players' era, whatever it was called. But they defensively, man, they've ebbed and flowed. And last night, man, they had nothing for Illinois' offense.
It was bad. No, listen, again, was Oregon really a top 10 team? No, their resume said that they should have been a top 10 team coming out of the players' era. That's all. But like, you knew watching them.
Well, but you are who you beat. Like, so their resume says it. Yes. That's a great win for Illinois.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
And the whole West Coast travel thing. Look at Maryland. Right. Maryland's being talked about as one of the better teams in the Big Ten. They go to Washington and lose.
They laid an egg. I mean, between
Queen and Gillespie did not play well.
Did you see their combined numbers that I tweeted out? It was like 5 points, 8 fouls, 6 turnovers, no rebounds, 0 rebounds out of the 2 of them.
That's crazy because Queen is a
monster.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you've gotten good at looking up numbers, whether it's the net or it's box scores and tweeting.
I'm a big net guy. Yeah. I was, all over that on New Year's morning.
Yeah, I saw that. You were active.
I couldn't sleep.
I was surprised that you were doing anything on the holiday. Normally you're like, sleeping till 11 and
no, I was up at like 5 in the morning and I'm
football games on.
Let me check the net. Why not? Let me check the net. What's more important than looking at the net and seeing that Georgetown is 10 spots higher than Providence?
You are truly an idiot.
Just saying. Listen, who would have thought? You wouldn't have thought. You were all about Divine Providence.
Well, I still think Divine Providence was one of the big snubs of the Academy Awards last year. In fact, I might nominate it this year. I love the Paul Blue Demons fan 28 on Twitter. That guy.
You have to say who you are. You have to be a real human being to be able to.
No, you don't. It says by anonymous.
By anonymous? Is that what it said?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I still can't believe it got pulled.
I still love that if you look at some of our podcasts that get tweeted out, people will ask if we look good in orange.
Oh, I get it all the time still. Every tweet I get, you look good in orange. I'm like, yeah, I think I probably do. I think orange is one of my top 5 colors. I don't know if
that was an all-time Field of 68 scandal. It really was. It really was. It's one of if we go back over the course of the history of this beloved
I'm still so upset I apologized.
Wow.
I had nothing to I now think I had nothing to apologize for.
You threatened that poor guy. Blue Demons fan.
Fun.
I think he's my neighbor. I live close to DePaul.
It wasn't serious. I was having fun. My
the funniest thing about this is, Jeff, that in the history of YouTube, no one has ever even been reprimanded in any way, shape, or form for putting copyrighted material, music or video, on YouTube. It just either the sound gets turned off or the picture gets put dark. So anyone that believed that you actually would be going to prison for that is hilarious.
Ridiculous.
But you know what? You have a reputation, and it's not a good one. So that's probably where it came from.
Let's move on.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
Let's move on to something, well, still not great. Jim Larranaga called it quits since our last pod. And I just want to give him kind of the respect he deserves, 75 years old. It was time. I told you, and I think I said it on the pod a month ago, and maybe I was being harsh, but I saw him in Charleston for 3 games, and it was hard to watch. His team was hard to watch, and he just looked – you know who he looked like on the sideline? Chris Mullen. He looked like Chris Mullen. He was just sitting on the –
When Mullen was at St. John?
Yeah, I mean, Mullen wasn't even coaching. Like, he had no desire. You could tell. Like, he was just, like, there along for the ride, and – that's kind of how Larranaga looked. He looked like he had checked out, and it was time. But, man, what he did, I mean, you think about it. George Mason getting him the Final Four.
Yeah, and it's not like they just limped their way there or got lucky with who they were playing. They beat the big dogs to get there.
UConn. They beat a loaded UConn team. And then what he's done at Miami, which people forget. Now, I know they had NIL. I get it. He had an advantage there with John Ruiz and Life Wallet, but Miami was always considered, like, along with Boston College, as like the most difficult job in the ACC because nobody cared. Nobody cared, and there's so many other things that you can do in Miami. It's a pro sports town. Now, again, the advantage it has over Boston College is the weather. Definitely the weather.
And NIL.
Now they have that. No question. That's the other difference now. That's the game changer. Did you hear his comments?
I did.
Okay.
First, I want to say I respect Coach Larranaga a ton. I played against him in college, have done some of the games that they had to make the Final Four for radio, so I got to interview him a couple times and have seen him over the years. Great person, unbelievable coach, so good at finding a matchup and kind of like Lon Kruger of like just like going back to it.
Yep.
But I heard what he said, and I just think it goes both ways.
Right.
The Final Four team is good because of NIL, because you had NIL.
Yep.
So I had a little bit of a hard time, and I think consistency is important. We hammered Tony Bennett, or I did. You didn't.
I did not.
And I think that this is a little bit of the same. You know what this is, and it helps you on one occasion or on one season. It was great for you. Hasn't worked out the same, and certainly with Life Wallet going to like a penny a share, that probably has changed the NIL situation at Miami.
But I hope you didn't have Life Wallet stock, Rob.
I had avoided it. I saw how much they were paying to their athletes, and I thought, man, unless the profits are just off the chain, how are they going to afford this?
They're not.
But I just kind of have a little bit of an issue with what he said, because it also, the other side of the coin was you went to the Final Four because you got Nigel Pack, and you got Norchad O'Meara, and you brought those guys in,
and you kept Wong.
You renegotiated with Isaiah
pay
Wong
that money to keep him.
Yeah, no, I know. So I get the game has changed, but everybody knows that. Like, and I've asked some other coaches. I asked Brian Dutcher when I was out at San Diego State last week. Are you still enjoying this, even though it's changed so much? And he said, yes. I might miss out on some kids, but I love doing this. So I don't know. I get that it's not for every coach, but you know what it is. And
you know what you do, Rob? Rob, you enjoy it when you're winning with it.
No,
And
that's
when
the
you're
thing.
not, it sucks.
For sure. Yeah. I thought it was a little bit hypocritical because of the way that the season was 2 years ago.
Yep. Our candidates to replace Larranaga in Miami, there'll be plenty because it's still Miami. And if they've got money, if they've got NIL, which, my guess is they have it, especially for the right person. The two names.
That's the thing with these new hires, right? Like, you can go to your boosters and be like, we can really get this guy if we can commit this in NIL.
So there's two guys that, to me, should both be towards the top of the list. And they're both named Pitino.
I knew you were going to say it, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
my God.
Rick loves Miami. I don't – listen, okay, here's my take. If I'm Rick Pitino –
how old is Rick Pitino?
He's like Larranaga's age. 72.
How many times is he going to say this is the last job I'm going to take, man? Then he said it at Iona.
You never believe
St.
Rick.
John's.
Listen, the first rule with Rick Pitino is he changed his mind 100 times on everything. So don't ever believe whatever he says, he's going to flip it over and over and over. Okay. Now, he loves Miami. He had a home there. I would just say this as a 72-year-old Rick Pitino, I would be thinking about my son. I'm 53 and I'm thinking about my daughter for every decision I make. Okay. So at 72, Rick Pitino's already done everything. He's got a good job at St. John's. He's got it going pretty good. His son
in a city that he really likes.
Yeah.
Too.
His son is in New Mexico where the league is kind of falling apart, right? Let's be honest.
And they're staying, right? New Mexico's staying.
Correct. So wouldn't you, if you're Rick Pitino, do everything in your power, take yourself out of the equation for this job if you think you can get your son the job?
So wait, what are you saying? Rick Pitino takes the job and Richard becomes the associate head coach?
No, I'm saying Rick pulls himself out of contention. When they call Rick and they say, "Are you interested?" Rick says, "No, I'm not. But my kid Richard should be the one you're looking at here."
You know what I'm going to say though about Richard Pitino's situation?
Go ahead.
They care at New Mexico.
They do.
They pack that place.
Yep.
They do not care at Miami. Whatever you do, unless you are winning at the highest level, even then, it's the Heat, it's the beach, it's the Dolphins, it's anything else, right? Like there's a million things to do there. In Albuquerque, the pit is packed every night. So I don't know what the two schools' NIL situations are, but Miami's weather is definitely better than Albuquerque.
New Mexico's NIL is the best in the league, but again, Miami will have a lot more money overall. And you're in the ACC right now, which is pretty wide open last I checked.
Yeah, no, that's true. Before we move on from this, I do want to say one more thing about Jim Larranaga. It was so impressive to see the way that he built Miami when you had Krzyzewski and Roy and all the guys that you did in the ACC.
Oh, yeah.
And for them to get into the mix there is
Amazing.
Pretty unbelievable, to be honest with you.
Really good. All right, the next guy to go in the ACC, in my opinion, is probably going to be Leonard Hamilton, right? I mean, he's in his 70s, mid-70s as well, and there was some news involving him with 6 of his former players that have sued Leonard Hamilton over basically not Leonard agreeing. It was a lawsuit filed at, I think, December 30th, and basically he had promised them. They're saying he had promised them NIL for $250,000 a piece. Now, there's nothing in writing in terms of a
contractually,
right? And again, Florida State not being sued here. It's the university. It's Leonard Hamilton's promises, and I guess what they're saying is that he promised them this money through his business partners. Okay, that's how they were going to pay. It wasn't even with the collective. So it was verbal agreements between the players and Hamilton. Listen, I've said this, Rob, and I don't know where you stand on it, but to me, it's like hire an agent that knows what the hell they're doing, number one.
Yeah, but not everybody can. If you're good, the good agents want to represent you. If you're medium, the decent agents want. If you're, you know what I mean? Like you don't just get to say, "Hey, Mark Bartelstein, come represent me." He has to want to represent you. And if you don't know any better, man, I don't know what these texts say.
Yeah.
But if they are damning, this would be just horrific for someone who has, by all accounts, been so helpful to so many players over the years.
Yes.
But if you're lying about this just to get kids to come play and they're passing up opportunities, and again, I don't know what the texts say, but this sounds like a story that's straight out of Europe, where the American players are like, we haven't gotten paid. Let's sit out practice. Let's sit out the games. And then the team last minute is like, oh, no, we'll pay you. Like, that's happened a million times overseas. But for it to happen in college basketball, if it did, it's just pathetic is what it is. I don't know. I when the texts come out, I can't wait to read them.
Yeah.
But if they say, yeah, the money's on the way, that would be total bullshit.
I don't think my guess is it's not to that extent. My guess is it was more of like, hey, we'll take care of you with this. I don't know if there's anything even
that is like you're lying to your players.
I just it's weird because Leonard. I've had conversations with Leonard over the years, even when NIL first came in. I remember being at ACC Media Day a few years ago and talking to him about this. And Leonard is so pro-education, like the highest level of like, hey, I'm not saying he was like completely against NIL, but he kind of was at the beginning of like, hey, people aren't understanding the value of an education. And that's his deal a lot because he came from a tough background, and he had to work for it and was able to take advantage because of his education.
But can you imagine, Jeff, if this is the scenario, and we don't know if it is, but if it is the scenario where a coach who has made what, $40 million, $50 million is promising student athletes $250,000 and that, yeah, if you come here, this is what you're going to get paid, and then just doesn't pay him,
won't look good.
It would not.
That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, it is.
Even if you, and I agree with them that, hey, the value of a scholarship is a lot. You get an opportunity. How many people have student loans? How many people work a second job?
Yep.
Now, do I think that it was total BS that some of my, I had teammates or a teammate that, what are you going to do? You have your scholarship check, and if your parents aren't kind of supplementing you with some spending money, you don't just get to you don't have any money. So I get that the scholarship is a lot.
Listen, any player watching, even if you hire some slapdick agent, right? Even if you hire some guy at the lowest level, make sure you have a contract. Make sure you have, and to me, honestly, I would say this: if you're doing a deal now with a collective, like before July 1st, let's say, get a lawyer to look it over. Get a lawyer to pay the $1,000 if you're making $200,000 or whatever.
Okay, but if they haven't gotten paid anything yet, where is the $1,000 coming from? You're a sophomore. You had a great year at North Florida.
Yeah.
Florida State is recruiting you. You made $0 in NIL last year, or you made $10,000 in NIL last year. $5,000 or whatever go to taxes.
Yep.
You don't have $1,000 to pay a lawyer to look at it.
Well, maybe they look at it.
I get what you're
saying,
saying, and you're right, but not everybody has these opportunities, is what I'm saying. The best players, yes. You're rep by the best agents. Okay, yeah, they're gonna take care of you. But you're rep by some of these dudes that are shady. Your deal is gonna be like, yeah, the agent gets 60% and the player gets 40%, and they're not gonna be. They might not be looking out for them.
I also don't understand on both ends why there's not a contract. Like, to me, if I'm
we need it. Yeah, I think that the NCAA needs to step in here and be like, all NIL deals are contractually done for the safety of the school, for the safety of the player.
Right.
But it's a free-for-all, so it's nothing. And now we have a situation like this.
No, they should have them on file. Like, honestly, the NCAA should have them all on file with the contracts for every kid who's getting paid NIL West. They should. I mean, they won't because it's a lot of work. I get it. All right, let's move on to some final thoughts and things. Let's start with Kansas. I know you haven't seen him a lot, but I thought Bill Self addressed his biggest issues over the offseason. You did too. They went out and got shooters. They went out and got Zeke Mayo and Rylan Griffin, shooters, proven shooters, and they went out and got AJ Storr. And yeah, we know they were still going to have some issues because you have three guys on the court that you're not going to take one of them off, and DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson, none of which are floor spacers, right? Hunter had his stretch where he made some threes, but that's not what he is. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And I like KJ Adams, but the fit next to Hunter isn't necessarily the best.
It's not.
It's not the best fit.
Right. And then they go, anyway, they lose, a game at home that is just an absolute.
Well, to West Virginia minus
shock.
Tucker DeVries
and Amani Hansberg, two of their best three players. And really, they got not blown out, but like most of the game.
Well, they were down, 15?
With like 5 minutes left. Yeah, and they came back and tied it, and then they still lost. They played Florida Badunga alongside Hunter down the stretch, Rob. And it's similar in a way to KJ. He's just got more length to him, but he can't really score. He can block shots. He can catch lobs. He's different than KJ in some ways, but he's not a guy who's going to step out.
But you think, like, if you could put the perfect four next to Hunter, it'd be like Alex Caravan. Like that type of player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Stretch four, give Hunter space, you double, you pay for it.
Yep.
Good cutter. That would be the guy that you'd like.
Yeah,
you're picking the perfect. And I'm not saying it, Caravan, even if you had Caravan light, a stretch four would be who you would want next to Hunter.
Totally. Just a guy who can keep defenses honest, shoot it, pass it, like just a versatile forward, right? Mm-hmm. A versatile forward is what they need, and they don't have it. And I just don't know what you do if you're Bill Self. I am worried about Kansas finally. I wasn't until that game. And watching him, I'm like, what do you do? I mean, he had KJ Adams on the bench at the end of the, towards the end of the game, and then he put him in at the very.
Didn't Storr not score?
Storr has been invisible. I mean, invisible, and Rylan Griffin hasn't done it.
It would be interesting. And there's plenty of guys that transfer and have good years with NIL and get paid and play well, but there'd be a lot of guys where it would be so interesting at the end of the season to go to them and ask them, do you regret your decision?
Was it worth it?
Yes, you got paid this X dollars,
right.
But last year you averaged 14 a game.
Yep.
This year you averaged 4 a game.
Yep.
Like that's a scenario that a lot of players have found themselves in.
Hold on one sec here.
Oh, this is good podcasting.
Sorry, just got a text. All right.
Want to do biggest surprises?
Biggest surprise, biggest disappointment. Then we'll let you get a nap it.
Thank God.
Biggest surprise for me is Oklahoma Sooners. I mean, they're one of 3 undefeated teams left. Tennessee, Florida, Oklahoma. I saw them last week out in Charlotte. And the kid Jeremiah Fears is the real deal, man.
Yeah.
He looks like he's
You're talking
12.
about him being a lottery pick, right?
I mean, he could be. He's got size. He's not a great shooter, but he can make them. And he gets to the basket.
Big one against Michigan.
Yeah, he's really a tough kid, baby face, but man, he is a killer out there, an absolute killer. So Porter Moser kind of needed this with this group. And he's blended Fears with a bunch of older dudes, too, who kind of understand their role. But I would say for me, it's clearly Oklahoma, because I thought Oklahoma, I mean, they were picked to finish, I think, second to last in the league. And I thought it was going to be a rough year. And it still could be in league play. It still could be, but
they're a monster.
They've done enough that I honestly think they finished 4 games under 500. They could have a chance.
Yeah. I'm going to go 2 teams. 2 of them that actually were in Maui and have played. I'll start with Memphis. The fact that they made the Maui final, there was a lot of heat on Penny Hardaway. The staff thing, the first day of the season, and just the way that it's gone the last couple years at Memphis. But the guard play, PJ Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, those guys have been good. Dane Danger comes over from Illinois. They still have Musa Cisse. Like they've put together a nice team. And some of the wins, I mean, they just destroyed Florida Atlantic.
Yep.
And they really took it to Ole Miss. I mentioned Maui. They beat Clemson. I know the Arkansas State loss was kind of a surprise or a disappointment. But for the most part, Memphis has really been a surprise. And I'm going to go Michigan State too. Only because I didn't necessarily think that the additions they made to this team, you lose Tyson Walker, you lose AJ Hogard, and I think some people would say maybe some. This sounds like such an asshole thing to say, but like an addition by subtraction type thing, where all right, it didn't work with him.
You can be an asshole, so it's okay. A lot of people actually who watch this pod now feel
I've learned from the best, like I've been mentored by the biggest asshole ever. So how could I not? Jay Nakins, you're looking at him and you're thinking, can he be a guy that takes a step up and leads a team? Jeremy Fears missed, January through April because he got shot at a party over Christmas break last year. And then it's a lot of the same bigs, but man, they are back to playing Michigan State basketball. Get you on the glass, play with tempo, get in transition. They've said it the last 3 years. They've said it since Cassius Winston left. They haven't been that though. They are back to doing that. And I'll be fascinated, close game, to see who's the guy. Like it was Tyson Walker last year and the years before. End of the game, Tyson Walker. Is it Jace Richardson? Is it Trey Holloman? Is it Jay Nakins? I don't know. I don't know if Tom Izzo knows. But I like the way they're playing, and they've got to eventually shoot it better because they have a good shooting team.
But do they? Do they? I mean, at what point, Rob, are you
I know.
like,
they got off to a really slow start last year shooting, but they had found their way by now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they're not, but you would think that they could be. So
just feels like a long stretch, and
yeah,
a lot of games where they have not shot it well. All right, I'm going to go biggest disappointment. I'm going to go to my alma mater. I'm going to go to Tucson and say Arizona. A lot of people had a preseason top 10-ish, and right now they're probably not a tournament team. You look at who they've got some like quality losses, I guess you could say, like most of them. Duke at home, Wisconsin on the road, UCLA, they blew that game. They absolutely blew that one. And then Oklahoma and West Virginia, who have been better than we thought, but still, like, you're Arizona. You're Arizona. You should be winning these games. Caleb Love finally woke up against TCU. He has not been very good this season. And really since the NCAA tournament last year, he's struggled. I don't know. There's just something missing. And now Krevis is out for the season for them. Yeah. So I don't know. I think they're going to be fighting again in the NCAA tournament because they're not in the Pac-12 anymore. They're in a real league.
Crazy. Right. Yeah, it gets real in Big 12 play.
Yep.
I think Rutgers could be in that discussion. This is the most hyped season in the history of the program, and it looks like they're heading towards the NIT or the Crown, whatever.
Crown. Wow, look at you. You know about the Crown.
I'm a Fox employee, moron.
Are they sending out big emails about the Crown?
I don't know, dude. I wonder if Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey will play in the, I would assume
zero chance.
No, I know, but like we don't.
I will say that right now. I
know they won't play. I'm just saying we haven't had that in. It's been a football thing.
This will be a basketball thing. Trust me.
No, I know. And it's like you have a long time off. That's the thing that's weird about the Crown. Kind of is like it's in between.
And your teammates
weekend, the Final Four.
And your teammates are going to be like hitting the portal.
You'll have guys in the portal too. Right. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. I get, Arkansas, I guess I picked them after watching a scrimmage.
You did.
To be a Final Four.
It was like me of Ole Miss. When I watch Ole Miss beat the hell out of Illinois.
Boogie Flan was murdering in that game. So I drank. No, he has. I drank the Kool-Aid. He's been okay. Thiero's been good. Their front court's been really disappointing. Big Z, Adu, Brazil. DJ Wagner's not been great. And then really what's been surprising to me, I guess he's been a little banged up, Janelle Davis has struggled. But they've won, 6 in a row? They found a way to beat Michigan on a neutral floor. They lost to Illinois. They lost to Baylor. Huge opportunity Saturday. The good thing for Arkansas, much like Indiana, you have a ton of opportunities in conference play because the SEC is stacked.
Yep.
So you can make this right quickly. But, I guess the two marquee games, they just haven't maybe looked the way we thought they would.
By the way, you look much better. I feel like this pod has awoken.
It's got like a wellness to it.
Yeah, like I don't know what it is, but I feel like you need to keep doing it just because it makes you look younger. It makes you feel younger. I don't know. You got energy now.
I think I'm gonna submit my resignation letter to Rob.
We will not take it. Again,
You
we
wouldn't
will not
accept?
accept your resignation.
Wow, that's crazy.
What do you got going on now this weekend?
I'm doing the Indiana game at the Palestra. It'll be a great environment.
Oh, you're going to
Penn
the
State, Indiana.
Palestra.
I've been there before. It is sick. For anybody that loves basketball, the Palestra is must see. The concourse is a little bit, it's like Fog Allen,
Yeah.
but the history of Philadelphia basketball, players that have played there, coaches that have coached there, it's phenomenal. It is so cool.
What is that, a Saturday game?
Sunday.
So you're on the couch all day tomorrow?
I mean, I travel. I don't teleport to Philadelphia. I know you just stay in one place, but believe it or not, I have to get on a
You're going to
plane.
miss some games. You could have a day on the couch watching games. The best
Jeff,
thing
you know
is
how often that ever happens where I get to sit on the couch to watch games? I
mean,
know your ass is doing that every night.
it's going to be
But it doesn't
phenomenal.
happen.
Though. Sitting on the couch. Actually, I'm trying to figure out a way. There's so many good games, and we got Towson, Charleston here in Charleston. It's my last chance before we leave in about a week and a half.
Where do you go after? You have a month and a half left?
No, I've 10 days left, like 12 days.
Why did you go so early?
Because the weather was awesome in September. Mid-September in Charleston, it was elite weather. Now it's starting to get
now
cold.
are you going back to Boston now?
No, we're going to Florida.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah, we're going to Florida.
I have to get a new partner. I cannot respect what you're doing.
Yeah, we're going to St. Augustine for 2 weeks. Never been there. It's like on the way down. Billy Donovan's got a place there.
It's by
He's raved
Jacksonville.
about
I know where it's at. I know geography, dude.
Yeah, I've never been. So we're going to go there for like 2. It's not that warm. And then we're going to go to Delray for a month where it's like 75 every day.
Whoever has paid you in your life, or whoever is currently paying you, has paid you entirely way too much money.
I'm paying myself now.
Yeah, I know, because no one at Field of 68 makes any money except for you. Maybe Doster. I don't know.
I think you're getting paid like, I don't know. Again, if you do the math, we've been on now, actually, this is a lot for you. This is a long pod, 45 minutes. So let's say you do 45, which is high, times 25, which is about the amount of pods you do a year.
You think we do 25 podcasts?
20? What do you think, 20 a year?
I don't know. If it's 25, that's fucking 20 too many.
All right, so let's say, let's give it 40 minutes times 20 pods. That's 800 total minutes. And I know what you get paid. I think. Actually, I'm not sure. Doster knows.
Yeah, what are you, an accountant now?
I believe you get paid. I don't know. It's a lot. It's way too much. I can't add. I can't divide like that. But it's way too
we
much.
know
fun.
you're too dumb to do the
We're gonna renegotiate at the end of the year. That's what I
hope.
All
so.
I know
it's
is
gonna be. I quit.
you want to renegotiate for more money. We're gonna show you how you got to step up your game here. And last week you were too busy gallivanting around for the holidays. I don't know what you were doing with Logan, but you're probably out in L.A. or something. I don't know.
I actually had to work. I did the San Diego State Utah State game. It was a good game.
Yeah. Oh, tough one in San Diego. I'm sure you played golf while you were there.
I wish I didn't though. I had too much to do. I had to get ahead. I have like 4 games next week. I had to get ahead.
Man, oh man, the life of Robbie Hummel. If everybody could be so lucky,
Please.
all right.
Listen, enjoy your travels, Jeffrey.
Well, no, I'll still be here next week. Next week I'll be here. Next week I'm going Kentucky, Georgia, and then Alabama plays South Carolina, and then I'm going to see Auburn play South Carolina here.
South Carolina's kind of found their way a little bit.
They're better. Yeah, they're better. And then I'm going to go to the Texas, South
what?
Carolina women's game with Talia and my wife. And then Talia goes back to school, and we leave for St. Augustine on January 15th.
Dude, these Christmas breaks for students in college are long now.
Long.
It's like a month off.
Yeah.
At least.
It's not bad. It's not bad. All right. Well, listen, thanks to everybody for watching, for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, or else Hummel may not get paid unless we get some more subscribers. He may have to take a pay cut. And
I'm just doing this for the health benefits of rejuvenating me, apparently.
I mean, it works. It works. I'm telling you,
Unreal.
You've honestly lost about 10 years off your life from when this pod started. Certainly, it looks that way. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Goodman and Hummel.